The BMW M140i is a brute. An orange brute with subdued styling, but a brute nevertheless. Those not in the know would dismiss it as just another small BMW. But once they drive it or are driven in it, their opinion will completely change. It's not very pretty though. That's why we're showing it from the side, its best angle. The recent facelift only made it moderately less ugly. However, none of that is important, as this car is dominated by its engine. It's a new 3-liter unit with a turbocharger making 340 horsepower and 500 Nm of torque. That's more on both counts than the previous M135i. This particular example features the 8-speed automatic gearbox and only rear-wheel drive, but you can opt for a manual and X-drive all-wheel drive. But enough talk, let's go drive it. Why did I call this car a brute? Well, if you have the systems turned off and your tires are not warm, or the surface of the road is even a tad wet, you will spin the back tires very easily. You need to be very careful, or you can just leave the systems on and let the nannies take care of everything else. Although even if you keep all of the systems on, you'll still see the stability control light flashing constantly as it struggles for grip. The traction control helped me there. I'm not disabling it. DSC off, what is that? This car is a lot of fun. It's kind of neutral into the corners, and you have a surprising amount of controls through the steering. The turn-in is superb. If you're careful and don't carry too much speed, you can nail apex after apex after apex almost effortlessly. Feedback is limited, as with all of these newer electrically assisted racks, but you can place the car with absolute precision. And the steering is cause for no drama in this car. It's super sharp. The car is very quick to rotate and it's very controllable. It's only when you're already sideways, with the rear wheels having lost grip, that it starts to be a bit snappy. But if you treat it with a bit of respect and know what you're dealing with, this is a 340 horsepower, 500 Nm car. I mean, you have to treat it with respect. It's brutal. Although the brakes are not as good as you'd want them to be. They do seem to stop the car fairly well, but they're not as good as they could be. This car also comes with the M adaptive dampers, which are now set in sport mode over this ridiculously bumpy road. And you can probably see me flopping about. In comfort mode, the car is quite restrained. Anybody could drive it, and could even drive it quite quickly, even this rear-wheel drive model, as the electronic nannies take care of everything for you. You will see this light constantly flashing, even if you're not gunning it, or you're just driving it to the shop. I'm not really sure which flavor of M140i is recommendable. This car has rear-wheel drive only, but the convenience of an automatic gearbox. So the shifting is taken care of for you, and all you have to do is just point it in the right direction and not crash. Although frankly, I'm not really a fan of BMW manuals, as they feel kind of rubbery. It may be a conspiracy within the company to make its buyers want the automatic. It's superb automatic. It's brilliant. It's almost as fast as some double clutch setups, although it's not as brutal. And this car is even faster with the automatic, as is the case nowadays with many modern transmissions. They do the job of shifting better than a human being could. I mean, that's pretty cool. So basically, if you're opting for the manual, it means you don't care about 0 to 60 times and all of that. You're more interested in the driving experience. You could probably dull this car more if you opted for an automatic with all-wheel drive, although as you can probably guess, the raciest kind of setup you could go for would be a manual car with rear-wheel drive. This car is a unique proposition in that it's a hatchback, it's rear-wheel drive, It also uses their latest 6-cylinder engine, codenamed B58. It's a very torquey and responsive unit, and you can actually drive it like you would a diesel. Its peak torque is delivered between 1500 and 4500 RPM. You can get into a rhythm driving this car quickly, without the electronic aid. And you can learn to trust it. Although the aforementioned torque, which is delivered very low in the rev range, can cause stuff like that. I was already pressing the throttle then. There was a little bit of turbo lag, and then the car spun up the rear wheel. In this respect, power sliding, a turbocharged car is slightly harder to control than a naturally aspirated one, where throttle response is instant. This car is also slightly tricky to manage in faster corners, as its short wheelbase means it's ever so slightly twitchy. I think a regular front-wheel drive hatchback, like a Civic Type R with its 306 horsepower, would be more than a match for this on a twisty road. In fact, I think this couldn't keep up with one of those, as that just exudes confidence 5 minutes after you're aboard and you're driving it. Whereas this, the BMW, takes a lot more getting used to with its handling quirks, especially on the limit. This car kicks off at somewhere around 42,000 euros with VAT, but this as tested model with the automatic gearbox and a few trinkety options is 53. However, one option it is missing is a mechanical locking differential. This car really needs it and would make it a much more controllable, fast driver than it is today. Since this car is as powerful as the much appreciated 1M, maybe they don't want it to step on the toes of actual M branded models. This is a M Performance model, let's not forget.